Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Tuesday morning over here as we get the real markets underway. We got the US back from holiday. Well, technically a little bit later today, but there are moves mystifying in the airs right now, so I wanted to prepare for that. It's actually a relatively streamlined analysis for today. There are some pretty obvious pivot points and really doesn't need to be anything super sophisticated. So with that in mind, I wanted to, yes, once again, mention that there is a sale going on right now. It's Labor Day and also my birthday. And of course, if you're interested in any one of the programs, please make sure to watch the promotional videos in the store over here because I'll explain essentially what to expect so you can make an educated decision for yourself. Other than that, I've been uploading an absolute metric shit ton of content on Instagram recently, both trading related content and also, also not as well, which you may or may not be interested in. And of course, there is a link in the description below as well. All right, sweet. Let's jump on into it. So I wanted to start off things a little bit different today with the lower term timeframes for Bitcoin here on CME. And what do we have? Well, we have the same thing as yesterday, but with the advent of this nice little move that we did see. I guess this was in the dead of night for myself, so I was definitely asleep. But the advent of that move does provide a nice little pivot point on the markets right now. So if we put on our drawing tools, it's actually the same thing as before, yes, but with any sort of a closure now above that rejective high that we did see from this morning spike, which was just under 20,100 on CME, any sort of a 4-hour closure above that high. And yes, I would resolve this, or I'd consider this resolved, and I'd be looking for a trap move to the upside. First target would be somewhere around about 21,000 bucks, give or take, about $100 from that number. And then upon validation above that level, I would be looking for extension somewhere around about 22-ish, let's say. But I suspect that we'd have some time to have another video in between and talk about that. But until then, what do we have right here? Well, we have a slew of lower highs. We have the same lows. So of course, that is the markings of a descending triangle, of which these have a higher probability breakout to the downside than the upside. With that in mind, if we reference our indicators right here, we can see a lot of things of particular interest. So first and foremost, I want to recall that BBWP all the way up to, I believe, a 12-hour, yes, is on the ever-loving lows right there. So this does suggest that we're very, 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 very likely looking at resolution today, maybe at latest tomorrow, if I had to guess. I do believe that there's a bunch of Fed members maybe speaking, which that's always that's always fucking fun. Throughout this week, I think today, tomorrow, and maybe Thursday as well. So ultimately, I do think that this is primed likely for today, maybe tomorrow, just judging off of this. It's not just for the 12-hour, we all see it on the 6-hour as well, and the 4-hour. So volatility is set to expand. If I had to guess, probably sometime around the US market open. Now, on top of that, if we do reference our 4-hour RSI, it is interesting right here. Yes, we are getting many drives of hidden bearish divergence as we did identify yesterday, not just on the 4-hour, but also on the 6-hour and even the 12-hour as well. But you would really expect follow through on these if they are going to take hold, like, well, today, latest tomorrow. So it is a bit of a ticking time bomb, which is why I keep on bringing up this idea that the longer that Bitcoin stays here without breaking down, and we'll talk about breakdown levels in a second, then the more and more likely we're going to see a trap, again, initiated or at least confirmed, validated, whatever the fuck terminology you want to be using, with any sort of a closure, again, above that rejective high that we did just see this morning at just below 20,100, let's say. So with that in mind, what would validate a downside continuation move? Well, in this case, any sort of a break below the bottom boundary of this particular formation, which would be about 19,500 or 19,400, depending upon exchange. Obviously, the numbers are going to be slightly higher on spot versus what's called CME right here, but CME is actually a little bit lower as there is a bit of it's about $100 discount regarding spot price action. So any sort of a break below there, and then yes, we do have a technical target based off of that descending triangle, which would be pointed down towards basically the lows for CME, somewhere between about 18,000 to 18,500, which for fuck's sake, I would just like to see a move outside of this $300 range that we've been looking at for a while now. Oh, and it looks like I just got hit on a trade, so I would like to... Oh, I didn't get filled fully, but hold on. I would like to take a little bit of profit. That would be nice. Okay, uno momento. I apologize. And let's get rid of that. Okay, lovely. All right, nice. All right, let me just get back up my notes. Okay, cool. Also, that target to the downside would be confluent with the 1 spot 6.8 Fibonacci extension. So ultimately, I do like the confluence in all these regions. The setup is there, and realistically, I don't see that there's any real major interest in playing it while it's still within this consolidation. I think all of the easy trades here have already been had. Now that it's so fucking tight, it's really just so fucking tight. That's what she said. Now that it's this tight, I do think that it's time to wait for resolution, at least personally. Of course, everyone's free to do whatever the fuck they want to do. Anyways, moving on into stochastic momentum. I just wanted to bring up this as well. Daily stochastic momentum is pivoted at 19,650, and I'll explain why these numbers are relevant in a second, but I'll get through them first. The 12-hour is pivoted at 19,650 as well. Very interesting. We see this number come up multiple times now. 6-hour is pivoted at 19,800, which of course is pretty much within the same ballpark, and the 4-hour is also pivoted at 19,750. So what does this all mean? What does it all mean? What does it all mean, sirs and zers? What it means is that if Bitcoin fails to really break down today, again tomorrow, maybe latest tomorrow, outside of this range, extremely likely we're going to see a trap here and probably push price action back up closer to $22,000 overall in the coming couple weeks. So I did want to make sure that I'm cognizant of that, or put this out on these videos, because Bitcoin's kind of had many chances to break down already right here, and thus far hasn't taken it. So I think you got maybe another couple days. Otherwise, very, very likely we will see an upside move first before any potential downside continuation. Until then, probabilities still do remain on the downside. I wanted to once again recall this chart over here. This is the September monthly chart. This is the monthly chart with an analysis specific to September. So what do I mean by that? Well, throughout all 13 Septembers of Bitcoin's full history, 9 out of those 13 Septembers have been down months. So that would be 69%, which is a great number. But 2 of the remaining 4 Septembers were basically just a range anyways. So I would even go as far to say that 11 out of 13 were basically down a range, closed, unchanged, slightly down, or, decently down. That would be the first 9 months, of course. And of those months, the average down on the down months was about 21.17%. So from the prior closure, that is, I should say, so that'd be from August. And if we were to look at this from a statistical perspective, looking at the first standard deviation, which encompasses 69% of the results that we would expect, this range would fall between about 13.5% to just under 29%. So, the probabilities still do suggest that downside is more likely than upside. Let's get rid of these green bars. They're not really relevant right here. But the question is, how far down, and does Bitcoin get a rally first? Well, of course, if Bitcoin fulfills the conditions that we just laid out, have to be looking for a rally first, somewhere around 22, maybe overall, maybe even 23. I think that'd be a little bit further, or a little bit far-fetched in this case. But if we were to apply these stats to the downside, well, on the lower end, we would expect from August closure, 13% would put Bitcoin basically $17,500. So, retesting the current lows, I think that's reasonable. I think that's kind of like a best case scenario. Gives everyone another chance to buy the lows because the market's ever so fucking generous, right? But the average down, if we would actually extend that a little bit more, which does actually account for, a bigger swath of price action, that puts Bitcoin at about $16,000. And then of course, if we were to go all the way for the full hog for just under 29%, that would be, 14 and a half or so, 14-ish, let's say. So you can kind of see the areas of interest on the way down there if Bitcoin does take another leg down. And yes, overall, I do still think that Bitcoin takes another leg down. The real question is, does Bitcoin ever rally first or not? And personally speaking, the stats do say, still probably better to be looking for a downside in the short term than not. But I think that will start to really expire and reverse if Bitcoin fails to continue to the downside in this next 48-hour period. Very, 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 very likely. So other than that, just a nice quick video right here. I think things are, dare I say, obvious, not necessarily easy, but obvious in this case. Doesn't need to be any more complicated than this. Above this last rejective high on a closing basis, especially, I'm looking for a nice move to the upside. Trap, everyone's trapped right in here, right? And to the downside below about 19.5 or 550, I think it is on spot, or on CME at 19,450. I'd be looking for that next move down about $1,000 lower, maybe 1,500, somewhere around 18 to 18.5 or so. Other than that, no need to complicate things any further. I hope that this was in some way helpful. I want to wish you the best as always. Much love, take care, and see you hopefully soon.